Scott, it's 2 minutes.
All right. What keeps you sane under this microscope that you live in?
Being able to listen to my dad, being able to get his advice, him building us up all the way from 6 years old, running snake, even in high school, even in Little League.
Season is special because this is it. This most likely, and I'm pretty much 99 to 100% sure, will be the last time that I have an opportunity to coach my kids.
The New York Jets could have made the boldest move of the draft. Instead, they might have just made the biggest mistake of the decade. With a perfect chance to lock in their future at quarterback, the Jets looked the other way and passed on Shadur Sanders. Now, they're watching from the sidelines as his stock explodes, and fans are starting to ask the one question the front office doesn't want to hear. How do they screw this up so badly? Because while Aaron Rodgers is aging fast and backup options are vanishing, Shadur Sanders is looking more and more like the quarterback of tomorrow. And the Jets let him slip right through their fingers. And the craziest part, the warning signs were all there.
When the Jets were on the clock with the 11th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, it felt like a turning point.
This wasn't just another draft night. It was a critical moment for a franchise that's been stuck in quarterback purgatory for over a decade. After years of mediocrity, false starts, and a carousel of disappointing QBs, the Jets finally had a shot at securing their future. With a deep draft class, loaded with talent under center, including one name buzzing louder than most, Shadur Sanders, this was the time to be bold. But instead of going for the future face of the franchise, the Jets went conservative. They picked Olu Fashanu, an offensive tackle from Penn State. Now, don't get it twisted. Fashanu is talented. He's got size, power, and potential to protect the blind side for years. But here's the problem. That pick screamed short-term fix. It was clearly made to protect Aaron Rodgers, not to plan for what happens after him. And that's where things get dicey. Rodgers is nearing the end. He's 40 years old and coming off a devastating Achilles tear. He barely lasted 4 snaps last season. Yet somehow, the Jets treated this draft like Rodgers had another 5 years in the tank. That's not just risky, it's reckless. Even more confusing, Zach Wilson, the last quarterback they gambled on, had already flamed out and was shipped off to Denver. There's no young quarterback waiting in the wings, no promising backup, no plan B. Just blind hope that Rodgers holds up and somehow returns to MVP form. It doesn't take a football expert to see the writing on the wall. The Jets are playing with fire. They had the chance to secure their future at the most important position in the game, and they passed. And the wildest part? The future they needed was staring them right in the face.
You don't get many chances like this in the NFL.
A dynamic, marketable, and high IQ quarterback was sitting right there, available, overlooked, and ready to prove himself. That quarterback was Shadur Sanders. Before he even stepped back onto the field for Colorado, Shedeur was being talked about as a potential top 10 pick. Analysts were already debating, is he better than J.J. McCarthy? More polished than Bo Nix? Some scouts said yes, pointing to his poise, arm strength, and unmatched leadership under pressure. He wasn't just a hype machine built off his last name. Shedeur had numbers. He had command. He had the clutch factor. And more importantly, he had the type of swagger and football IQ that screams franchise QB. But here's what made it even crazier. Shedeur hadn't officially declared for the draft, yet the buzz around him was off the charts. NFL teams were quietly watching, wondering if he'd change his mind. Some were even preparing, just in case.
And if the Jets had played it smart,
They could have taken a calculated risk. They could have drafted him, stashed him behind Rodgers for a year, and let him develop, just like the Chiefs did with Mahomes. But instead, they let one of the most intriguing QB talents in recent memory walk. No trade-up, no aggressive move, no vision. And now that decision is coming back to bite them, because Shedeur's stock isn't just rising, it's exploding.
Shadur Sanders wasn't entering the NFL alone. He came with a powerful voice behind him, his father, Deion Sanders. And Deion made one thing very clear to every NFL team listening: not every franchise is worthy of his son. In interview after interview, Deion sent shockwaves to the league with his blunt honesty. He didn't hold back when talking about which teams were a fit for Shedeur and which ones flat out weren't. While he never named names directly, the implications were loud enough to echo across front offices. And the New York Jets were one of the team's fans believed he was pointing at. Why? Because Deion emphasized the importance of culture, protection, and leadership. He didn't want Shedeur thrown into chaos. And let's be honest, the Jets have been the definition of chaos for years. Constant coaching turnover, media pressure, and a locker room that struggled with direction. For Deion, that's a red flag. It wasn't just fatherly concern, it was a strategic warning. The media couldn't get enough of it. Sports shows ran segments asking, is Deion scaring teams away? Is he helping or hurting Shedeur's chances? But behind the noise, one thing became clear. If teams wanted Shedeur, they'd have to prove they were stable, smart, and ready to invest. And the Jets? They gave off the exact opposite vibe. No QB plan, no long-term vision, just a gamble on an aging quarterback and a hope that everything magically works out. Deion didn't have to say it outright, but the message was received, loud and clear.
At first, Jets fans tried to stay optimistic. Fashanu was a strong pick. Rodgers was talking like he'd played multiple seasons. And the media focused more on his recovery than the lack of a long-term plan. But that optimism didn't last. Now, as training camp approaches and the reality of another all-in on Rodgers year sets in, fans are starting to connect the dots. And it's not looking good. Reddit threads, YouTube breakdowns, and even sports radio callers are asking the same brutal question. Why didn't we go after Shadur Sanders when we had the chance?
The frustration isn't just about missing a talented player. It's about the pattern. Jets fans have watched this movie before. First it was Sam Darnold, then Zach Wilson, then a Hail Mary for Rodgers who lasted 4 plays before going down. Now, the Jets have no clear successor, no young QB to develop, and no backup plan if Rodgers gets hurt again, which at 40 isn't just a possibility, it's a likelihood. And when fans look around the league and see Shedeur's name gaining momentum, it stings even more because they know he could have been theirs. He could have been learning under Rodgers right now. He could have been the next chapter. Instead, they're stuck hoping the same risky plan doesn't collapse again. And if it does, the regret won't just be from the fans. It'll come crashing down on the Jets front office too. While the Jets are bracing for another high-stakes season with no real safety net, Shadur Sanders is doing exactly what the critics feared. He's getting better, a lot better. Since announcing his return to Colorado, Shedeur has turned the spotlight into fuel. He's sharpening his mechanics, strengthening his leadership presence, and putting up numbers that force NFL scouts to take notice. Every time he steps onto the field, it's like he's rewriting his own draft stock, and the price tag is going up. He's not just a dual-threat QB with flashy highlights. He's showing NFL decision-makers that he's calm under pressure, decisive in the pocket, and can read defenses like a pro. And while doubters once called him a system QB or rode the Deion effect, those doubts are getting quieter by the week. More importantly, Shedeur's doing something that makes front offices drool. He's improving every season. His poise? Better. His vision? Sharper. His control of the offense? Like a veteran. And now, NFL insiders are projecting Shedeur as a top 5 pick in 2025. That's not hype, that's reality. The sad truth for the Jets, if they want him now, they'd have to sell the farm to move up in the next draft. Multiple first-rounders, trades, future assets, it's no longer a steal. It's a premium cost. They had the chance to get him while his price was still low. They had the chance to lock in their future. Now, they'll be lucky if they even get the opportunity.
The Jets didn't just pass on a player, they passed on stability.
And that decision could haunt them for years. Let's play out the likely scenario. Aaron Rodgers finishes the season. Maybe he plays well, maybe not. But what happens next? He retires. Or worse, he gets injured again and the entire season derails. Again. And behind him, nothing. No young QB, no development project, just an aging roster, wasted prime years from their defense, and a coaching staff suddenly under pressure. The Jets have put all their eggs in the Rodgers basket, and when that basket cracks, it's over. And here's where the pain really sets in. They'll be scrambling in the 2025 draft trying to find a new quarterback, but this time it won't be easy. Shadur Sanders will likely go in the top 5, well out of reach for a mid-tier team like the Jets, unless they blow everything up to trade for that spot. So what do? Trade away future first-rounders? Gut the roster just to chase what they could have had for free a year earlier? That's not just regret. That's a full-blown disaster in the making. This is how franchises get stuck in rebuilding cycles. This is how you waste elite players, and this is how fans lose faith. Because it's not just a mistake. It's a mistake they saw coming. And if Shedeur turns into the star many believe he will,
This will be the draft day blunder that defines the next decade of Jets football. While the Jets sit stuck between a fading veteran and an empty quarterback room, other NFL teams are quietly preparing to strike. And Shadur Sanders is at the top of their hit list. Franchises like the Raiders, Vikings, Commanders, and even the Patriots are already being linked to Shedeur for 2025. These are teams with shaky QB situations but loaded draft capital. Teams that won't hesitate to trade up and grab a franchise cornerstone if the opportunity presents itself. Unlike the Jets, they're not waiting around. They're scouting, they're planning, they're watching every Colorado snap. And when the time comes, they'll be ready to pull the trigger. Some of these teams are even setting the table already, restructuring contracts, stockpiling picks, and putting feelers out to agents and insiders. It's not just interest, it's strategy. And for the Jets, it's a nightmare scenario. They won't just miss out on Shedeur, they'll have to watch him thrive on another team, possibly even in the same conference. They'll have to watch the media rave about his leadership, his work ethic, and his NFL-ready game while they're stuck patching together quarterback fixes year after year. And the worst part? Fans will remember every throw, every touchdown, every highlight reel moment. They'll remember that Shadur Sanders could have been wearing green and white. Instead, he'll be lighting it up somewhere else on a team that actually had a plan. Every NFL team has that one decision, the moment that haunts them for years. For the New York Jets, this might be it. They had the chance to draft a quarterback with star potential, charisma, leadership, and the bloodline of a Hall of Famer. Instead, they bet everything on a 40-year-old QB with no clear backup plan and ignored the writing on the wall. Now, Shadur Sanders is rising fast. His name is in every scout's mouth. His highlights are everywhere. His value? Skyrocketing. And the Jets? They're clinging to a narrow Super Bowl window with no one lined up to carry the torch when it closes. If Shedeur becomes the star many believe he will, and he likely will, this won't just be a missed opportunity. It will be the defining mistake of a franchise still chasing its glory days. Because in a league where every pick counts and every move matters, the Jets might have just passed on their future and handed it to someone else.